And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Today we're going to take a look at Rolling Freight. Now, Rolling Freight is a train game. Oh, surprise, surprise. There's so very many Rolling Freight, train games around, but this is a train game with dice. Well, cha-ching, this is the Dice Tower. I opened the game and was a ton of pieces inside. I had heard about this game for a long time, hadn't thought much about it, looked at it, looked like another typical deliver stuff type game. Let's take a look. Here's one map for Rolling Freight. Two maps come in the game, and this one is the southeastern USA, and then you can get the western USA. Each player is going to get a player board, and on this player board they're going to put a train here to show how many switching stations they have, which at the beginning of the game is none. Players are also going to get a handful of tracks of different shapes, different sizes. The size doesn't really matter. They're just there for aesthetic purposes, and a bunch of cubes of your color. And what players, and the most important thing of all, I can't forget that, players are going to get a bunch of dice in their color. On the board here you can see there's some contracts. These contracts mark different spots on the board, and the game comes with enough contracts so that they can cover different maps. So if you take a closer look, you can see here, for example, this contract here is 3A and it's gray. And so over here it shows a 3A contract. We just put that marker there to show where it is so people are looking for them. So you'll start the game with one contract and one of these improvements, and then the game is going to start. Now what you do normally is you will roll the dice at the end of your turn so that you can stare at your dice for everyone going around the table, which should speed up game time, and it does, although since these cards that are available here will change, that may change what you're going to do. But anyhow, you roll these dice, and based on what you rolled, you're going to roll the different colors that are available on the board, the red, gray, yellow, and blue, or a double color, blue, gray, or red, yellow, and that simply means it's red or yellow, your choice. After you're done rolling the dice, there are several things you can do with the dice. One of the things is you can take one of these contract cards. If you've noticed, each of the contract cards has a certain number of dice that you need to buy it. For example, to buy the 1A red, I would need to pay 4 dice, and the one here that's colored means at least one of those dice must be red. So if these were the 4 dice that I was paying, that's perfectly acceptable. If I had these dice here, I could pay these to buy the red. As long as I have one red, I'm fine. Just like here, I would need to pay red. Here, this one, I need to pay a double color as one of my dice, and here I would have to pay one of the gray ones. And they're more expensive as you go up the line, and you can buy more than one, but you have to have enough dice to do that. When you buy a contract, let's say I buy the 3 gray, I instantly would take this off, and I'm going to put a green cube on one of this is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces, but I'm going to put a green cube to show that that's mine. And then I will put the contract on my board to show that this is one of my contracts. You can have up to 3 contracts at a time. At the end of my turn, we'll put out a new contract to replace the one that was taken, and they'll all slide down. And then the marker that was on the 3A will then be put on the spot where the new track is. Now, the reason these are split A, B, and C is because the game is split into 3 sections, and so as the game progresses, once we're done with the A cards, we'll go to the B's and C's, and it makes a nice progression because the B's are here and the C's are here, and more routes will be discovered as time goes by. Another thing that you can do with dice is you can build on your tracks. Here I own this track. That needs gray dice to finish it. I look at mine. Here I have 3 gray dice. So I could use all 3 of those if I wanted to and put cubes on there. If I had different tracks of different colors on the board, I could put down cubes. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put down enough cubes to finish the last one. If I connect one of these C routes, I need doubles. When that happens, I take off all those and I put a track there to show that that track is now completed, and then I get points. Now the points I get are used by looking at this chart here. How long is the track I just built? For example, that one there had 5. And then how many contracts did I have? If that was my only contract, you'd see I get 6 points. If I had another contract, I'd get 4. If I had 2 other contracts, I'd get 3 points. So the more contracts you're building at once, the fewer points you'll get, but the more you can use your dice to get those. Now, another thing I can do with dice is I can increase my switching station. And that's very easy. I just pay any 3 dice, and I can move it over 1, 2, 3, then I pay 4 dice. And that the switching stations allows me to deliver goods. At the beginning of the game, you are going to put some goods on some of the spots on the board. You can see that on some of these spots, some of them are marked B and C, and at the beginning of the game, these are covered up with B and C tokens to remind us that that city, those spots in that city aren't available. Once the B turn comes, we'll open up the B's, and then once the C will come. But there's 2 colors on each of these usually. The inside color is what that city wants, and the outside color is what the city wants, and the inside color is what the city has. So for example, this one right here will start with a yellow, which happens to be passengers, at the beginning of the game, but that city wants red to come to it. If there is no color, then you will randomly pull from this bag and place these. So at the beginning of the game, there's going to be resources all over the board. Well, you can deliver these resources as long as one of the tracks that you deliver is yours. And when you do that, let's say, for example, I wanted to deliver this gray cube to a city here. Let's say here's a city right here that accepts gray cubes, and I have 3 of my own tracks connecting that. And so I simply will pay 1 die, 2 dice, 3 dice to move there. I deliver the good, and then I put this marker here to show that I cannot deliver any more goods to that city anymore, although some cities can take multiple goods as the game progresses. The good is delivered and the good is removed from the board. I can use other people's tracks, but they cost me 2 dice each. So you can make super long deliveries. The problem is you only have so many dice, but the more switching stations, the less dice you have to pay. So if I need 7 dice to move a cube, a good from one city to another city, but my switching station's under 5, I only need to pay 2 dice. You always have to pay at least 1 die, but the switching stations will help you make the longer deliveries. And these longer deliveries will give you a point. They give a point to each person whose train track was used to have a good moved over it, but you also will get a delivery bonus. If you're moving the red and yellow, those are passengers, and they want to get to places fast. So if they're short routes, you get bonus points, while the gray and blue cubes are goods, and so you get more points the longer the route is going to be. Now you might notice these squares here. At the end of your turn, if you have extra dice, and let's say, for example, at the end of my turn, I have 3 yellows, a yellow here, a yellow, a half yellow, and there, and I didn't really want to use yellows that turn, I can save these. I get to keep 2 of them. You always keep 1 less, but I can take 2 yellows, and then on a future turn, this is like I have all automatically rolled 2 yellow dice. Now the thing that's really cool about this game, at least I think so, are these special abilities. And you can buy improvements with dice. And you can see they cost a certain amount of dice also, and at the end of the game, at the beginning of the game you get 1 too. But each of these dice will give different things. For example, this one here lets you add, well that's boring, this one here lets you add a yellow die to your resource dice. So that gives you a 6th die. And the yellow die is really cool because it has double sides on everything. So that's neat. Other ones will give you a black die, which has single sides, but then basically has what is a wild side with all 4. Or a blue die, where you can get extra money when you make a delivery. Or a red die that lets you deliver more than 1 per turn. Or even has this side, which is basically 2 generic dice. Or a gray die, which is 2 generic dice many times, which is really neat. And so you can buy these different dice or other things here. For example, this one is a storage, which says at the end of your turn, when you roll dice and store them, you don't have to subtract that 1. So at the end of my turn, if I have these 2 dice in front of me, I can store 1 yellow and 1 red and blue. If I have both of them, if I have both of these improvements, which players will often do, then when I roll doubles, I can keep both, which is an advantage. It's a really neat thing. This one here, this improvement lets me put 2 dice on whatever sides I want at the beginning of my turn. And there's all different improvements that you can get. You can only have 3 at the most, but there's many different improvements which will give you special abilities that you can use. Now, one of the minor problems I have with the game is how small and petite these cards are. Another problem I have is it's kind of a weird scoring track. I mean, if you look here, we have 34, then there's a space, and then 35. I can't tell you how many people have, when we play this game, think that they're just counting the spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or even here, from 40 to 41 is this giant jump over the coffee mug. And then down here, you go from 55, woo, round the corner to 56. It's not a huge deal, but that's functionally problematic. Oh well. Like I said, and here we're going to dump the whole board for a second. You can see on the other side of the board, there is another, we have the Western USA, and like I said, the game is set up so that you can add more boards. This is a much easier map to play than the side I was showing you. Has different contracts, shorter rail lines, and is a faster game. After you get to the last end of phase card, which comes after a certain amount of contracts that you have in the deck, then the game is over, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Well, this is a big, hefty, heavy game. But look, ladies and gentlemen, I am adding it to my shelf. And that is because Rolling Freight is a game that I really, really enjoyed. I've always liked the kind of train games that exist like this, like Age of Steam and such. But this one really fits that same niche that Steam does. So I have to Jones theory this, and if I'm going to keep a game like this, I probably should get rid of one. And I thought, well, should I get rid of that? Should I get rid of Steam? Because it meets the same qualifications, but I'll probably be getting rid of Railways of the World. I like Railways of the World. It's a fun game. But this one does a lot of the same things, and I really like the die rolling. Well, there's 2 things I really like: the die rolling and the technology. Now, there's one thing. If you're going to play, like, for example, the Eastern USA map, like the one I was showing in the video, it's going to be a long game, especially with 5 players. And in fact, I'm not sure I'm going to play it with 5 players again. Just a little too long for my tastes. 4 players maximum, maybe 3 players is the sweet spot for this. But I like the fact that the dice that you roll, they kind of dictate what you do, but they don't hold you to it. There's a lot of neutral dice that are used for a lot of things, and I really enjoy that. I like the different options I have, and I love the different technology. You get 2 technologies. You can start storing lots of dice and then have huge, powerful turns. Other technologies that give you better bonuses when you deliver goods. Others that give you extra dice. You can be rolling 9 dice per turn instead of 6. It's just really neat and a lot of fun, and it has that aspect that I don't find a lot of these train games these days. Is there's just that fun to it. Anything that makes me different than those who I play against is fun. And there's a little bit of luck in it. You'd think there'd be more luck with the die rolling, but there's not. Because like I said, you can mitigate whatever things you roll. But I for one, find this a very enjoyable, I'm going to say this is one of the best train games I've ever played. So definitely check it out. Very high quality production. Just a neat thing, very expandable. I mean, if they had more maps for this, I would gladly play them. And you can see they've already had that set into the system. Maybe they have some more technologies too, that'd be cool. But I digress. A very fun game, Rolling Freight.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.